What up, though? It's your man, Johnny Gun Game, back with another fire video. And today, we're gonna do a unboxing of the new Glock Gen 5 C.O.A. and a quick tabletop review. Stay with me, y'all. This is gonna be great. All right, y'all. So let's get to the unboxing. What you're all here for. So, very first thing you're going to have is your lock. Child safety is important. Next, before we go any further, we're going to observe the rules of firearm safety and make sure that our firearm is unloaded and clear. And we will keep this pointed in a safe direction at all times. All right. Next, you get some back straps that change the length of pull on the Glock. You get every Glock firearm comes with 3 magazines. In this case, since this is a Gen 5 Glock 19, all of the magazines are 15 rounders. 3 15 rounds. There's also a Glock speed loader. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's the little things. Now, before we get to the gun itself, let's go with the rest of the accessories. Inside the box, you're going to get your owner's manual. You're also going to get a cleaning rod. Now, this is my first Glock, so I didn't notice when I first opened the box that the other side of the rod is actually attached to the box. It blended in down there. But there's your cleaning rod. Now, what else do we have here? We have everything for our aim point. And what is in the aim point box? Let us set that to the side for a second. In here, you're going to get a cover plate in case you ever want to take the optic off and run it without an optic. And oddly enough, this cover plate is made out of polymer. And the reason I believe they did that is because unlike other cuts, the A cut gets directly milled into the slide. So it's not like they cut out a chunk of metal and they just have that chunk of metal to the side. I think they milled the whole cut out of the metal. So I don't think there was a piece to reattach to the gun like other firearms. All right, so to our aim point packet, what do we got in here? We're gonna get a sheet for the actual A cut. So this explains how the A cut works, how to install your cover plate in case you want to take the optic off. This is your entire instructions on removal and replacement. What else do we have in here? There's another manual. This is a step-by-step manual on the Optic itself. Temperature range of operation. And your molds. Each click is 30 millimeters at 100 meters or 1 inch at 100 yards. Second, night vision devices and values of room temperature for battery quality. So this goes into everything about your C.O.A. This is a procedure on how to remove and install the battery. Your zeroing process. Okay, and this is very important here. These are your settings. So there's 12 intensity settings. 1 through 4 are night vision, and 5 through 12 are daylight. So we'll get to that in another section here. All right. What else is in the bag? This is your quick reference on how to remove the battery, remove and install. And what do we have here? Warranty guide. And we have battery and tools. So, why don't we put the battery in? You want to put the battery in with me? Sure you do. Again, even though I just sat the gun down, let's just for safety's sake check it again. There's no magazine for feeding, and the firearm is clear. All right, so battery. You're gonna take your little tool here. We're gonna go remove that screw. And with this little coin tool, if you see, it has like a little shovel in. Looking at the C.O.A, it's very hard to see. Let's see. there's a little slot right about here. And you just get into that slot and pry it out. It's not hard. It's not difficult. It's just so well machine pressed that you need something to pull it out with. All right, so let's see here. Where's it? Let's go ahead and. All right, so very important. I talked to the guy over at Aimpoint. Hold on. Let me get this thing open. All right. So I talked to the guy over at Aimpoint, and he said this little symbol right here represents there's a coating that they put on all of these batteries to make it taste bad for little children. And what the representative over at Aimpoint told me was, you want to get a little alcohol and rub that coating off. He said it's a good idea to, keep the kids from eating the batteries, but he said the coating is actually getting inside and messing with the contacts. It's coating the context or the contacts on the device itself. So he says they're having problems with this coating. And it may not be an Aimpoint problem. This may extend to all red dots that use these batteries. This is a, let's see, Duracell CR 2032. So we're just gonna, he said you just gotta rub a little alcohol on it to remove that coating before putting it into the firearm or into the optic. So alcohol, when we look at the battery tray, you see that little plus symbol? So that little plus symbol right there tells you that the plus side, which is the side where you can read, goes down. All right, plus side down. Now, just slide the tray back in. It goes very smooth. Everything is expertly machined, expertly cut. I like to start all the screws by hand. That way I know nothing gets cross-threaded. So you start it by hand, end by tightening with the tool. And I'm just tightening until I feel pressure. I don't have a torque spec, so it's very well machined, which means it shouldn't slip out. And now we're gonna have a dot. I believe that's the dot, but let's double check. So I'll cut it off, and then I'll press the button. To cut it off, you're gonna press and hold the down step button. To turn it on, you just press the plus button. On, off, on, off. All right, now the settings. The settings are important. Settings are something you want to know about. So when you turn the dot on from an off position, that is setting number 7. Remember, when you first turn the dot on from an off position, when it first wakes up, when it turns on, it's on setting 7. From there, you can step up or step down. 7, 1 press, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, important, if you cut it off at number 12, when you cut it back on, it automatically goes to 7. And then we can step down. 6, 5, 4. Now we're getting into night vision territory. 4, 3, 2, 1. So without night vision goggles, you can't see that dot. We're going to go back to setting 7. I'm going to turn it off and then turn it back on. Now, why is setting 7 very important? Setting 7 is the recommended setting to set it and forget it. This doesn't shake awake. It also does not turn up or down depending on ambient light around you. You set it and you forget it. Okay? At setting 7, setting number 7, which is the setting that when you first turn it on, at this setting, this dot can go for 5 years. 5 years. I picked these up from Amazon. These are Toshiba batteries. They're all 2032s. And if each battery is 5 years, this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 years worth of battery life. If society failed today, I could keep my red dot burner for 50 years. This is going to outlive me. That's why setting 7 is very important. Now, once you start stepping it up, right? And this is important. The buttons have to be double. To activate up or down, you have to double press the button. So the first time I press this button, nothing happens. That unlocks it. If I press it again, now I start stepping up. And stepping down. Now, like I said, if you don't want to count, just turn it off and turn it back on. You don't want to count back to 7, turn it off and turn it on. You're automatically at 7. You're automatically at the best battery life. Now, of course, if you step it down from 7, well, you're going to start getting more battery life. But what the guy at Aimpoint suggested, and I think it's very good advice, is he told me every year on your birthday, just replace the battery. All 10 of these batteries, all 10 of them cost me $5. So you can afford $5 a year. That way you don't have to wonder, because once you start stepping the setting up, when you get into the higher values here, this eats the battery more. You're cutting at 5 years in half. If you hang out at, like 12 or 10, you're cutting it in half. But I have found setting 7 to be very reliable. It's daytime bright, nighttime bright. This is like really the perfect setting. And another thing I really like about this optic is the fact that it doesn't have any hoops or circles or different reticles. All I need is a clean dot to aim with. I don't need reticles. This is a 9mm handgun. Okay, it's a 9mm handgun. I don't need a BDC. I don't need a ranging reticle with a 9mm. It's just simply not going to shoot that far. So bullet drop compensation on a pistol like this is a waste of time. You're not going to be shooting out 300 yards with a pistol. So just having a clean dot is less confusion under stress. It just, like I said, it just shows up and is very clean, very nice. But this is more than just, it's more than just a nice optic. This is really about the cut, the A-cut design. This is an optic system. And that's really the reason why I picked this up. Like I said, this is my very first Glock. And basically the reason for that is, for the most part, for just a few dollars more, you can buy an HK. And an HK is going to be a nicer firearm than this. I don't mean that in more, I don't know. I'm not really sure how to put it. An HK is going to have a better trigger out of the box. This trigger, oh my God. Again, we're clear. This trigger is heavy. I mean, it's heavy. It's good. You can use it, but it's heavy. And the magazine release is heavy. The mags kind of get stuck if you're not at the perfect angle. You got to be at an angle down. And for me, this is just for me, for my hands, the way I'm built, I have to break my grip to eject the mag. I have to bring it back into my thumb more so I can get a good press. If I have a grip, my thumb is not long enough to get a good press on that and get it out of there. I mean, maybe with a lot of practice, but it's difficult. At this point, it's easier for me to just break my grip and drop the mag. That's something you're not going to have with an HK. An HK is going to have a paddle mags right here, and you can just pop the mag out. So I've always, leaned toward the HK because it's just a few dollars more. But just in this case, this year, Aimpoint made a deal with Glock where no one else could use the A-cut or the C.O.A. Now next year, the game is on. Anybody can use it. But this cut is very important. I'm not going to remove the optic because the optic doesn't have to come off. The battery is here. There's no reason to ever take the optic off. I haven't had any problems with the screws untightening. And I'm actually going to see how long it can go without these screws loosening up. I'm not sure if they're Loctited in or not. But the design of this optic is unlike anything else. I think this is the very best design of an optic cut known. This is the best design ever created so far. Why it's good, why it's better than everything else, is because it's not just a cut where we put the optic on top of the slide. This is the first cut where the optic is actually in the slide and not on the slide. Right here, the optic goes into a wedge. So this wedge right here is literally holding the front of the optic down and in. Also, you cannot see it. Let's see. This is a good look at it. So there's a little track in the middle of the slide. And this optic rides on that track, on a rail. And what does that do? Why is that important? The rail going down the middle of the slide keeps the optic from being able to move left or right. So if it can't move left or right, and it's literally wedged in right here where it can't move up and down, the only exit for any force is back here, where again, they created another wedge. As you can see, the rear sight goes down on top and wedges it into place. There's not a screw actually in the optic itself holding it. The screw is in the wedge. And this wedge pushing against this wedge just keeps everything really tight. So my goal is to put 1,000 rounds to this firearm and see if anything backs out. But I think the A-cut has significantly increased the reliability and decreased the chance of failure of the optic. Not the optic itself, but failure as in the screws backing out. The problem that we all have with optics on top of pistols. The vibration, because the slide is racking back and forth every time you shoot, rattles all your screws loose. But because of the wedge and because of the track in the middle, I don't think that's going to be a problem with this particular cut. I think every firearm should go with it. But you never know what they're going to do in the future. You know, maybe I can probably see Walther next year putting this on a PDP. But I don't know about any other companies. Hence, I wanted the C.O.A. I wanted the cut, the A cut. So I went out and got the Glock. And next year, we'll see what other firearms adopt the A cut. I would love to see it on an HK VP9. But speaking of that, let me go grab an HK with an aim point acro on it so you can see the difference. Just a sec. All right, I am back with more. Once again, we are clear. And now I have a VP9, and that VP9 is also clear. All right, so this has an aim-point acro. And let's look at the differences. One, I believe the battery itself is different, but you have a little screw cap here instead of the battery tray. So that's one difference. Two, the way it mounts. This is what holds it on to the rail. But the biggest difference is the size. As you can see, the new C.O.A is a lot smaller. Looks a lot less like a mailbox. And width-wise, especially width. As you can see with the acro, we got the dot actually overhanging the slide. It's actually wider than the slide. The new C.O.A optic is very neatly tucked. Nothing extra. And the amazing part is the window is the exact same size. All Aimpoint did was get rid of the bulk. So it has a lower profile, a neater fit, an easier access. I believe the tray is a lot easier access than the screw. And I also like the new controls. They're very intuitive for your offhand. You get a good grip on here. My offhand, I can very intuitively change the buttons. And the one-touch lockout feature, where, like I said, you have to press it once, and then if you press it again within a certain amount of time, you can actually adjust the dot up and down. That way, it keeps you from having accidental presses and adjusting your dot unintentionally. I'm not sure. I don't think the old one had that. Let's see. Nope. So this doesn't have any kind of lockout feature. If at any time you touch an acro, it just adjusts. So there's like no lockout. So that's more of an improvement. Now, let me show you some of the features that I was talking about. Let's start with the mag. The difference between the HK and the Glock. These aren't all of them. I'm going to do a very, more intense video on this, but I want to compare apples to apples. There's a new HK, the HK VP9K, and that's the one I want to compare to the Glock. But just some basic features. When I have a grip on a gun, because of the paddle, I don't have to break the grip. I just move my finger from the side of the gun or from the trigger to the mag. And that mag shoots clear. When I have the Glock, like I said, I have to totally break my grip, and that mag's not coming out of there at that angle. I have to move my grip and angle the gun down to get like a gravity release. Where with the HK, it's coming out. It's a fast reload. Another difference is going to be your grip is more ergonomic. You can change your panels and your back strap. Where on the Glock, it's going to be back strap only. Let's see that right now. This is the large back strap. Also comes with a medium back strap. Comes with a new pin and a tool to, if you're going to change the back strap, you're going to have to push this pin out and replace that pin with this pin. This pin is a little bit longer to accommodate the back strap. So that's just kind of a press fit without pulling out the pin. But that back strap, let me show you. In my hand, all right, you see how far my trigger finger is? So getting on the trigger, it's easy to have a lot of overhang. I mean, you're supposed to have a little bit of air, but this is a lot of air. So I do need something to kind of make up the difference there. It's just incremental, but puts me more comfortably where I want to be on that trigger. And there is the trigger itself. Again, we're clear and unloaded. That's a really hard trigger. Clear and unload it. That's a major difference in the break. But unfortunately, like I said, the HK does not have an A cut yet. Because, like I said, Aimpoint is only working with Glock for this first release year. Next year, everybody's in the game. Everybody can have an A cut. But what everybody can have and what every company will adopt are two different things. So, not knowing the future, I just decided to pick up my first Glock and try it out. That way, if there's later an A cut on another gun that I like more, I'll already know. Yep, get it. And I would say that right now. I think this is, like I said, the best in the game. I think it's the best optic. And it's absolutely the best cut. This is the best design so far. It's really durable. And just a word to the wise. Don't go like slamming this thing on bricks, trying to one-hand reload. Just, word of advice. If you get banged up that bad in any kind of gunfight or any situation where you can't manipulate a firearm with both hands, you need to be calling a medic. You need to be getting out of there. You need to get out of fight mode and get into flight mode. If your legs are still working and one of your arms isn't, then try to do a hasty retreat and go get some help. As for all of this, I'm going to one-hand reload and stay in a fight. It's not practical for, I think, a lot of people. I'll do another video on that later. But, I would say I think my Optic is for aiming. This optic is the difference between hitting a target and missing the target. I don't want to beat it against a concrete wall. I don't want to beat it against a tree or wood. I don't want to damage the optic at all. And I don't think anyone should try to, smack your optic around. Just use it for what it was intended to do. Aim the gun. That's all it was here to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys got something out of it. If you like content like this, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I want to formally apologize. I'm not able to always make videos as much as I like. I'm not monetized yet. I'm getting my membership up to that level. But when I do, like I said, I'll make more videos. You guys will hear a lot more from me. Till then, thanks. Johnny out.